Have you ever wanted to play EU4 but don't actually have the game, or you're missing out on a couple of important DLCs? Boy, do I have an offer for you. Right now, Humble Bundle is running a sale on EU4 The Complete Collection, where you can get EU4 and every single DLC, except for Origins, for just $20. That's right, a $415 value for just $20. Boys, don't miss this offer. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity offer to get EU4 and every single DLC for just $20. You can choose between Steam or Epic Games keys. I know lots of you guys have EU4 for free on Epic Games, so you can choose between whatever you want to, and you can get every single DLC and the base game, except for Origins, for just $20, man. This is insane. Honestly, man, this is a great way to support wonderful charities and the channel itself too. You can adjust your donation right here. You can see where every single dollar goes. 12 bucks to Paradox, 1 to charity, 4 to Humble, 3 to me. Hey, you can give extra to charity, or you can even choose a custom amount. Give all of your money to Paradox, give all of your money to a charity, give all of your money to Humble Bundle, and you can even give all of your money to me. Like I said, it's an awesome way to support the channel as well, and it's an awesome way for you guys to get EU4 and every single DLC for just $20. This is the best trade deal in the history of trade deals, maybe ever. So check out the link in the description or in the pinned comment and head on to Humble Bundle and get EU4 and every single DLC, except for Origins, for just $20. And you can choose to support an awesome charity or the channel, or both. Now back to the video. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be doing a guide for Serbia for EU4 1.33 France. So Serbia is a nation located in the Balkans, a very difficult start, and that's why a lot of players are deterred from playing it due to the fact that we have the Ottomans to our south ready to gobble us up as soon as their truce with us is up, and to the north we have a powerful Hungary and a powerful Austria, which might even get a personal union over Hungary, leaving us trapped between these two entities right here with very limited options for expanding. But make no mistake, Serbia does have some very good national ideas that focus on army stuff primarily and making some money, and we also have a gold mine right at the start, which will help us have a slightly easier time and a slightly easier start. And by using this guide, you will be crushing your tiny neighbors around you and conquering them, crushing the Ottomans to the south and even the Austro-Hungarian Union to the north, and getting the Lazarus achievement, conquering the entirety of the Balkans, dominating Southeast Europe, and maybe even more. And before we begin, if you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like. It really helps out a lot. And if you want to see more guides or more EU4 videos in general, definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything. Let's take a look at what we need to do as Serbia. Now, when you start as Serbia, there's two things you want to check. The first thing is pretty important, and that's to check if Hungary hates us. In my case right here, we can see that their attitude is neutral. However, if they're hostile towards you, you may want to restart, because we will want to ally Hungary instead of be rival to them or something like that. And the second thing you want to check is if the Ottomans have rivaled Austria and Hungary, and that is the case in my situation right here. This isn't as necessary as the Hungary thing, but it's still sorta important. If you have those things going for you, it's time to go into our estates and summon the Diet. You can pick whichever agenda is best for you. Then we're gonna give the Patriarchs Religious State and Clerical Advisory Council, as well as Religious Diplomats, and we're gonna give the Nobility Primacy of the Nobility, Increased Levies, and Aristocratic Counselors, and we're gonna give the Burghers Land of Commerce, Patronage of the Arts, Commercial Advisory Board, and Indebted to the Burghers. Then we're gonna seize land. Then we're immediately gonna start spying on Bosnia, improving relations with Hungary, and allying Byzantium. We're also gonna rival Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Wallachia right at the start. So this is our only alliance for now, Byzantium. The thing we want to try and make happen here in this scenario is we want to try and make the Ottomans somehow not declare on Byzantium while we still have a truce with the Ottomans. So until 1449, basically, we want to get the Ottomans to fight some of these small Turkish guys or Albania or someone like that. And hopefully with this Byzantium alliance, we can prevent that. And we're also improving with Hungary, so we can hopefully ally them. And as soon as this third diplomat is back, we're going to improve with Austria as well. We're also waiting for the spy network on Bosnia to finish. Like I said at the start, we do start off with a gold mine over here, and we're immediately gonna activate the Encourage Development State Edict and start deving Kosovo up to 10 production. At this point, we can turn off our forts to save some money, and we can build up 2 more infantry regiments, and hire an Improved Relations or Diplo Rep level 1 advisor. I also recommend getting a Mill advisor along with the Diplo guy, preferably a Morale, Discipline, or Fort Defense level 1 advisor. I'm gonna take take this fort defense guy. So now it's time to wait for the spy network. To improve your chances of allying Hungary quickly, you can scornfully insult some of their rivals, such as Bohemia for example. I'm gonna scornfully insult them now, which makes Hungary like me more, and I can royal marry them again as soon as the diplomat can go there again. And there we go, it's December and I can royal marry Hungary, and we'll be able to ally them as well. In your ideal start, you would be able to get them right away. If you've gotten a Hungary over 100 relations during this point, it is time to build up one more infantry regiment to put us at force limit. When you build up the force limit, you will be able to take the mission Moravian Arms, which gives us manpower and manpower recovery speed. And we'll also be able to take Despot Stefan's Legacy, which triggers the event Serbian Obligations for Hungary. Let's see what happens. And there we go, because Hungary likes us, they decide to give Belgrade to us, which is excellent. Very nice province. It produces cloth, it's a center of trade, awesome province all around, and it does have a fort. And with that, you could also take the mission Fortress of Belgrade, where we gain local defensiveness in Belgrade until the end of the game and 100 mil points. Awesome. You can of course turn off this fort for now as well. Once you've built up a spy network on at least one Bosnian province, it is time to declare on them. So raise your forts, put your army into place, and it's time to recruit a general. And right before we declare this war, we're also gonna disinherit our heir, Lazar, right here, because he sucks. This guy sucks too, but at least we have 2 royal marriages going. And there we go, with that out of the way, it's time to declare on Bosnia. Now, Bosnia will either be allied to Herzegovina, Wallachia, or Scilly, someone like that. In my case, it's Scilly. If it's Scilly, then you're gonna white piece them. If it's Herzegovina, you're also gonna white piece them. But if it's Wallachia, you are gonna vassalize them as well. You are gonna try and co-belligerent them, so pay attention to who Bosnia is allied to. In my case, Wallachia is allied to Herzegovina, so when I fight Herzegovina, I'm gonna vassalize Wallachia as well. We wanna try and subjugate these guys in whichever way we can. If they're not allied to any of these guys, then it just is what it is. So it's time to declare on Bosnia. During this point, I'm also gonna spy on Herzegovina. And if you're lucky enough, you might get something like this. I do admit that this is quite unrealistic, and you probably won't get a 666 heir. You'll probably get a regular one like a 351, so for the purposes of this guide, I am gonna reject this, so I don't become maybe too powerful in my guide. But of course, if you get something like this, you should of course accept an event like this. But I'm gonna reject it, so it's not unrealistic for you guys. And once you fully occupy Bosnia and peace out whoever their ally is, we're simply gonna full annex them. Pretty simple first war. Hopefully by this point, the Ottomans haven't declared on Byzantium. In my case, they are actually in a war versus Delkadir. So the Ottomans should be doing a little something like this. After your first war, you can hire an admin advisor as well. I'm gonna get this tax guy. As soon as your first war is done, it's time for your second one, versus Herzegovina. Like I said, try and vassalize Wallachia if you can, if they're allied to some of these guys. I'm gonna try and do it in this war. So there we go, I'll simply declare on Herzegovina right here. Boom, there we go, the war has started. I'm gonna let 2 days pass, and I'm immediately gonna ask Hungary for military access so I can go and siege down Wallachia. So first war versus Bosnia, second war versus Herzegovina. During this time, of course, you should be deving up Kosovo up to 10. There we go, the Ottomans declared their second war in my case, this time versus Chandar, and this is exactly how things are supposed to be going for you as well. They should be fighting anyone else except for Byzantium. Now, the reason I didn't co-belligerent Wallachia in my case is because they are guaranteed by the Ottomans, so I couldn't actually co-belligerent them, which means they take up more than 100% war score, which means that in my case, I can't vassalize them. Sure, something like this could happen in your game as well, but ideally, you would be able to co-belligerent them and vassalize them. It just is what it is in my case, so I'll just piece them out for money and war reps. And I'll humiliate them as well to tick off the age objective. And once the war with Herzegovina is done, we'll simply full annex them as well. By this point, you should have all of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and maybe Wallachia. In the meantime, the Ottomans have also warned me, which is totally fine, since our next war is gonna be with them. By this point, I have also devved up my gold mine to 10. And once you finished up those wars, your truce with the Ottomans will probably be up as well, in which case you need to prepare for the war versus them. Now, this war versus the Ottomans, it's either gonna be you, Hungary, and Byzantium versus the Ottomans and their allies, or you, Hungary, Austria, and Byzantium versus the Ottomans. Of course, during this time, you should have been trying to ally Austria as well, and if Hungary became a junior partner under them, you would have easily been able to ally Austria, but that hasn't happened in my case, which means I can't ally Austria just yet. Either way, I'm waiting a little bit for Hungary to end their war versus Wallachia here. And before the war with the Ottomans, you're gonna hire the Free Company as well. You are gonna be going quite over force limit for this. Of course, that's only if you don't have Austria. If you're allied to Austria as well, you won't need the Free Company. And before you declare on the Ottomans, you might want to wait for them to fight someone else over in Anatolia, so they take their armies over there, but you might not have an opportunity like that, in which case you'll declare a war on them regularly. Now listen, it's you as Serbia, along with Byzantium and Hungary. This should be easy, since in our Byzantium guide, we defeated the Ottomans almost by ourselves, just with the help of Albania and the Knights slightly. So, Serbia plus Hungary plus Byzantium, and maybe even plus Austria in your case, this should be easy. Of course, you are gonna want to carefully maneuver around the Ottomans' armies. You're gonna want to avoid fighting them. You're gonna want to activate the defensive edict over here so they take longer to siege you down, and just avoid the Ottomans' armies and go and siege them. You're gonna want to go for Gallipoli first, and then Salonik and Edirne and stuff like that. They may have even built forts, like they have in my case. They've built another fort over here, which is pretty unfortunate, but it is what it is. So, when you're ready to declare on the Ottomans, we're simply gonna declare a reconquest for our core over here and call in our allies, which are Byzantium, Hungary, and maybe Austria. Luckily, in my case, they're only allied to Gazi Kumuk over here. In your case, they may have AQ, they may even have Tunis, which is not a big deal, but of course, it is gonna be easier the less allies they have. But it balances out since I don't have Austria in my case. So, it's time to declare a reconquest. And there we go. In my case, we're a couple of years into the war, and this is what my situation looks like. So we've occupied the Ottomans in the Balkans entirely. We even stack wiped an army of theirs and made them retreat to Anatolia. I'm stacking here on Constantinople to prevent them from coming in, and now I'm just letting the war score tick up. Unfortunately, we can't really go to Anatolia, but if you can, you definitely should. Of course, this is going to be a lot easier with Austria, but it's definitely possible without them, as you can see in my case right here. Because I teched up, I was also just able to Royal Marry Austria, and I will most likely be able to ally them after this war as well, which is excellent. Don't be afraid to stand back from Constantinople either, even though I just said I was stacking there. If you stand back, the Ottomans see a fog of war on the non-coastal provinces, so they'll think you've left. After they think you've left, they'll cross and try to siege Constantinople or Gallipoli, in which case, you're free to engage them. And because more than 5 years have passed since we occupied the war goal, we're getting a call for peace, and the Ottomans and Gazi Kumuk are on low as well, and we've also gotten max war score. So it is time to piece these guys out. Now, your occupation map is gonna look different to mine. Everyone's is gonna look different depending on who's in the war. Austria, Hungary, Biz, you guys know the drill. So pretty much all of us are gonna be taking something different from the Ottomans in this war, but we're all gonna be following the same rule here. Take as much as you can for yourself, but also give anything you can to Byzantium. For example, I'm not gonna be giving this over here to Hungary. I don't want to make them stronger, but if you can, you should take Vidin for yourself to maybe fight Wallachia if you haven't got them, or if Hungary hasn't got them as well. But since Wallachia doesn't exist, I don't care for this. So I'm obviously gonna be taking back my cores over here. I'm gonna be taking these provinces over here as well, the 2 forts, and I'm gonna be taking these provinces here too, along with this, this, and this. This is pretty much all I can get in my case that I've personally occupied. But if you want to, you can also give Byzantium stuff. Like I said, you can give them something like this, something like this. I can only give them 1 province in my case, since we do want the Ottomans to be weaker. Remember, we don't care if Byzantium even gets all of their cores back. It's gonna be much easier to fight Byzantium with all of their cores rather than the Ottomans with the cores that they own on Byzantium. So take as much as you can for yourself and maybe give something to Biz as well. Like I said, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm also gonna take some of their money. And that's my first war with the Ottomans done. You should have taken a little something like this. Basically 5 to 10 provinces. That's the usual number. This war isn't hard at all, like I said earlier, and if you had Austria, it would have been even easier for you. And speaking of Austria, since I did Royal Marry them, I can ally them as well. At this point, you may be tempted to release Bulgaria if you've gotten some provinces that they have cores on, like these 4 over here in my case, 2 of which are also our cores, but it's pretty much up to you. You don't have to release Bulgaria, it's not as important as with Byzantium for example, but you can if you want to. In my case, I'm not gonna do it. After we've wrapped up our war versus the Ottomans, it is time to chill, recover our economy if it's suffered at all, and it's still not time to break our alliance with these guys up here. We're still gonna use them to fight the Ottomans again, and Venice too. If the Ottomans warn you after this war, or after any war for that matter, it's fine. Don't worry about it. If you can't fight anyone due to their warning, we're just gonna fight them again. At this point, you may also be tempted to break your alliance with Byzantium, but don't do it yet. This might make the Ottomans fight them and get Constantinople, which is not gonna be very good. So, until we kick the Ottomans out of the Balkans, we're gonna keep our alliance with Byzantium. At this point, I just took burger loans and I'm gonna be constructing some buildings, mainly marketplaces. For example, one can be put in Belgrade. We can put another one over here if we have this province, and basically wherever you can. You can also build some churches too in relevant provinces. Of course, you can also use burger loans to pay off regular loans. For your tier 2 government reform, you should of course take strengthen noble privileges. During this point, if I wasn't being warned by the Ottomans, I would declare on someone like Albania, Epirus, or maybe even Venice. But since I am being warned, I'm not gonna do that. And I know the Bulgarian separatist trick, a lot of you guys commented on the Byzantium guide about that too, where we should basically block this sort of area over here off from the Ottomans and then trigger Bulgarian separatists, make them go here, release Bulgaria. And I know about that trick. The reason I didn't include it in the Byzantium guide, and the reason I'm not gonna include it here, is because it's not reliable enough. It doesn't happen often enough. And usually someone else will give access to the Ottomans, and the Ottomans will just simply walk around and beat up their rebels, just like they regularly would. So that trick is not reliable enough for me to include it in a guide. If you got a coastline in the war versus the Ottomans, you should also start building some light ships to protect trade. For your first idea group as Serbia, I recommend taking quantity ideas. We will need to field a massive army in order to fight the Ottomans by ourselves later, maybe even the Mamluks if they enter Anatolia, and of course Austria-Hungary. So quantity ideas for your first idea group. And now that my truce with the Ottomans is up and all of my allies would join, it is time to declare on the Ottomans once again. Of course, if you got warned by them just like me, you'll be doing the same, but if you didn't get warned by them, you should have something like Albania, Epirus, or maybe even some Venetian provinces or Wallachian ones by now. But I am gonna be declaring my second war versus them. I was chilling in the meantime. And of course, the second war for me will be much easier, even though the Ottomans have more allies, because I have Austria as well. And this time we have even managed to cross the Sea of Marmara and enter Anatolia, which is excellent. Be careful not to declare the second war versus the Ottomans if you have a lower Miltech than them. In my case, Austria here is at Miltech 5, while the Ottomans are at Miltech 6. The biggest advantage that one tech has over another, and it almost cost me a battle over here. Luckily, we did manage to win. And there we go. Now that I've pretty much 100%ed the Ottomans, it is time to peace out, and you're gonna be doing the same thing in this war like you did in the first war, taking everything that you can for yourself, but also maybe giving stuff to Byzantium too. So of course I'm gonna take all of their provinces over here since I occupy all of them. I'm gonna take this one down here. This one is occupied by Biz, but I will give it to them, and I'll even take the fort in Kocheli over here so we can easily cross into Anatolia as well later. And I'm gonna take war reps and a little bit of money, and that's my second war with the Ottomans done. Just like that, in 2 wars, we've kicked the Ottomans out of the Balkans. Now, at this point, looks like I gave this to Byzantium by mistake, but no big deal, we'll just take it from them later. And with that, the Ottomans should have been kicked out of the Balkans, and now they're not a problem at all anymore. I mean, let's be real here, they weren't a problem at all, even after the first war. After you beat them up for a second time, now you're safe to break your alliance with Byzantium. Once you fulfill these conditions over here, you will be able to move your capital to Belgrade through a decision, something I do recommend doing. Now that I've dealt with the Ottomans finally, it is time to clean up some of these smaller Balkan nations. I'm gonna be declaring on Epirus now. And there we go, now that I've defeated Epirus, I will be full annexing them and taking all their money. You don't need to occupy Cephalonia to full annex them. Of course, if they still exist in your case. They might have been gobbled up by Byzantium by now, in which case, it's totally fine. And of course, because we did break our alliance with Byzantium, the Ottomans have declared on them, but that is a risk you're gonna have to take, and it's honestly not a big deal if they fight them after you've kicked them out of the Balkans. For your tier 3 government reform, you should take centralized bureaucracy. Since my truce with Byzantium is up and their war with the Ottomans is over, they lost these 2 provinces, I'll be declaring on them right now. And now that my war with Byzantium is over, I'll be almost full annexing them. I'll just not be taking the province of Rhodes, which they got through separatists, I guess, because I can't be bothered to go and fight rebels over there. So I'm gonna clean that up later when I have some transports or stuff like that. But basically, you're gonna be full annexing Byzantium no matter what they have, or taking as much as they have if they're over 100% war score if you fed them a bit earlier. So it's time to peace out. Of course, don't forget to lower autonomy everywhere that you can, whenever you can. And I can see here that Venice is in a big war versus France, and an ally of theirs won't join, 2 of my allies will join. It is time to declare on Venice. Of course, we're going to declare a reconquest for our core right here, and we're going to be focusing on taking provinces on the Adriatic Sea, mainly. Of course, you can take these down here if you can as well. You might be doing this before your second war with the Ottomans. Of course, I'm doing it now because I was warned by them. And there we go, I've almost 100%ed Venice. Austria even managed to get onto Venice, and I did peace out silly Salzburg, Saluzzo, and Mantua and made them go Orthodox. We do a little trolling even when it's not A to Z, you guys know how it is. But in this first war versus Venice, like I said, I recommend taking the Adriatic coastline provinces, this annoying province right here if you can, and other stuff if you can as well, but if you can't, it's totally fine. In my case, I'm gonna take everything from them over here that's not in Italy, and I'm also gonna take some money. Luckily, we did manage to siege down their capital, but like I said, mainly focus on this right here. By the way, I'm not fighting Albania because they've managed to ally France. For your second idea group, if you're not going for the Lazarus achievement, which requires us to own the entirety of the Balkans region, then I recommend religious ideas. Religious meshes very well with Orthodox nations, and it'll help us expand into the non-Orthodox nations with the help of the Deus Vult CB. It'll help us convert everything, and it's all around a great idea group pick for smaller religions, and especially for Orthodox. But if you're going for Lazarus, you might not need a second idea group, or even if you get to it, I don't recommend religious. And by around the 1490s, your game should look a little something like this. Basically, we started off as the nation of Serbia and started divvying up our gold mine immediately, then fought Bosnia, took all of their provinces, and maybe co-belligerented and vassalized Wallachia. Right after Bosnia, we fought Herzegovina, and once again, maybe co-belligerented and vassalized Wallachia. That didn't happen in my case. As you guys can see, I don't have Wallachia, but maybe in your case, you guys do. Of course, during all of this time, we were hoping that the Ottomans don't declare on Byzantium. Basically, that's the biggest RNG part with Serbia here. You have to hope and maybe even restart until the Ottomans don't declare on Byzantium, while you still have a truce with them. But if you made it until 1449 without the Ottomans declaring on Byzantium, then you're in the clear. During all of this time, you were allying Hungary and maybe even Austria, and then once you finished these guys off and once your truce with the Ottomans was up, you should have declared on the Ottomans by calling in Byzantium, Hungary, and maybe Austria if you managed to get them, and you maybe even had the help of your vassal Wallachia. And of course, we crushed the Ottomans in the first war, took as much as we could from them, maybe even feeding stuff to Byzantium as well. Once we defeated the Ottomans in the first war, we fought some Balkan miners if the Ottomans didn't warn us, but if the Ottomans did warn us, you should have waited for your truce with them to expire before fighting them for the second time and finally kicking them out of the Balkan region once and for all. And then after that, you could have fought some of the smaller Balkan nations, broken your alliance with Byzantium, took over everything from them, and after that, you should have fought someone like Venice and other remaining Balkan nations after you've kicked out the Ottomans. And depending on how fast or slow you were, your game should look a little something like this. Maybe you own the entirety of the Balkans, maybe you own almost the entirety of the Balkans, such as myself, maybe you have Wallachia, maybe you even have Constantinople, and if you're faster than me, you may have even broken your alliance with Austria and Hungary and fought them as well. By this point, we're a super powerful nation. We are on the Great Powers list. As we can see, I'm number 5 here in my case. My truce with the Ottomans is up, so I will be declaring my third war versus them pretty soon. You'll be fighting your third war versus them around this time as well. Our economy is great, supported in the early game by the gold mine over here, but later we don't even need it. Making super nice income, 6.5 ducats a month here with army maintenance and forts up. If I lower forts and stop drilling and lower army maintenance, it's 14 ducats a month, which is super strong. During this point, you should have been building buildings as well. I have some marketplaces here in the centers of trade, some production buildings in the high value trade good provinces, a church here or there, and stuff like that. I've even bumped these two provinces up to level 2 centers of trade, Salonik and Belgrade. And honestly, finances shouldn't even be a problem at this point. I do have some loans, 5 loans, but they're all burger loans, which I took out to, in fact, build buildings. I also have a tiny little fleet here protecting trade in Ragusa, which is not bad at all. After this point, you're gonna continue to expand in the same directions we've been expanding so far. You're gonna clean up all the Balkan miners that are left, if any. You're gonna continue pushing into the Ottomans, pushing into Anatolia, and conquering all of their territory as well, mainly in the Constantinople trade node. After you've beaten up the Ottomans enough to where you can take them on by yourself, it is time to break your alliance with Hungary, or maybe Austria-Hungary if Austria have Hungary as a junior partner, and it's time to turn on them as well. Take the provinces over here in the Ragusa trade node, take the rest of these provinces in the Balkan region, and maybe even push into Venice and Italy as well, depending on what your goals are. Like I said, if you're going for just Lazarus, you just need the Balkans, but if not, you should definitely focus on conquests in the Balkans, in Anatolia, and in the Venice, Ragusa, and Constantinople trade nodes, or maybe you want to go wider, in which case you should focus on the eastern portion of the Mediterranean. Of course, during all this time, you will be converting provinces to Orthodox. You don't need me to tell you about the Orthodox mechanics. We got the icons, we got Patriarch Authority, High Patriarch Authority good. Use the icons based on what they provide. I've explained them in many videos so far. Of course, for our first idea group, we took quantity, and for our second one, we took religious. For your third idea group, I recommend taking offensive, quality, or even aristocratic. Aristocratic is gonna mesh very well with Serbia's national ideas. More CAF combat, miltech discount, autonomy change, and absolutism all around great. The manpower plus 33% is awesome, and quality is also excellent for some boat stuff if you want to get into Italy, and for army quality as well. And offensive is just offensive, an all-around awesome idea group. I personally would go with aristocratic right here. It may not be the most optimal, but trust me, you're gonna have a lot of fun with aristocratic, a very underrated idea group. For your fourth idea group, I recommend something like diplomatic or economic. It really is up to you for the fourth one, and after that is pretty much your choice because you will be unstoppable. For your tier 4 government reform, you should take meritocratic recruitment. For tier 5, you should take general estates, but swap to royal decree when absolutism comes around. If you get more than 100 absolutism, swap back to general estates. For tier 6, you should take l'état c'est moi, and for tier 7, you should take political absolutism. Once again, if going over 100 absolutism, you can swap the legislative houses for +1 admin possible policies. Of course, this depends on your idea groups. Of course, don't forget to accept some of these cultures that are located over here, like I have in my case. You should definitely promote Greek and Bulgarian at least, or you could even convert them if you want to. It's up to you. But yeah, man, by around the 1490s, your game should look a little something like this. If you're not that confident in your abilities, or if you're not sure if your game is gonna go like mine, this save file is available for all YouTube members in the Save Games Discord channel, and you can continue playing as Serbia from this date forward. Let me know in the comments below what's the next nation that I should do a guide on. If you want to watch me do stuff like this live, you can follow me on twitch.tv/TheRedHawkLive, and if you want to catch up on stuff from over there, you can subscribe to the second channel, link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like, it really helps out a lot, and if you want to see more guides or more EU4 videos in general, definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything. And you can become a member today and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.